Okay.
Okay. So tell us a little about yourself, Jen.
Well, where do I start? I was thinking about this the other day. I think the reason why I am who I am is because of my older brother, growing up with an older brother. So you have that someone that's going to challenge you and play all the things that girls really don't do. So I thought to myself, um, watching old WWF wrestling with like Ultimate Warrior, Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, and having wrestling buddies. I think the reason why I'm so tough is because of my brother, just roughhousing, just playing baseball, just kind of doing some of that stuff. But the real core, I guess, of who I am, I've been a discus thrower, a state champion, high school record holder in both the shot put and the discus. And, I just purely did it for fun and ended up, having a college scholarship. I went to Portland State first and then Boise State University. And after that, just transitioned into more strength sports. I had a friend, Al Gano, that introduced me to powerlifting. And that was through the WABDL Association. That was the World Association of Bench Pressers and Deadlifters. Mm-hmm. And that's still founded by Gus Rethwish, who he was Buzzsaw from The Running Man. So okay. That was cool. Yeah, that was cool. I got to meet him. And I said, could you please send me an autographed picture? It's one of my favorite movies. And he did that. And then I've then transitioned again. My husband was in the southeast of England, currently where we're at, and had a friend, and he introduced me to International All-Round Weightlifting, the UK chapter. And if it had its own internet meme, it would be how to make weightlifting awkward since like the 1800s. It's the Arthur Saxon type lifts. It's just people hanging about doing, well, can you do this? It's thumbs together bench press. It's just kind of some awkward lifts. And then happened to have the chance to do Strongwoman back in 2010 and second in UK's at the time. And so it was just kind of random. It was like a camping type of place that's where it all kind of started. Developed into Strongwoman, and then the last few years got into grip sport, and then also doing some truck pulling. So that's kind of just this whole, if it's there, just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah. How is the support for strong women over in England? I've heard that that's the spot to be for strong women.
Holy cow. I mean, within the last just 10 years, it's exploded. And, it's like my friend Meg Austin, she went to the Arnold's with me at the time in 2010. It's Andrea Thompson, it's Donna Moore. Absolutely, it's just all of a sudden, it's just there. I think with Explosive Ape, and I think it's those type of brands that have supported and said, yeah, women can do this, go for it. And then also last year, Andrea Thompson got myself and Lorna Payton all together. We helped UK's Strongest Woman. I ran the microphone. That was like my third competition of doing it. So when you pull people together to say, hey, are you willing to help? Absolutely. We just kind of bound together. And I think for just to show everybody that it doesn't matter if you're a little bit older from the sport, that it's like we're willing to contribute and help out. So it's just nice having that base that, just going for it. Or at the time, there was one competition that Will Baggett, Rob Frampton, those guys all came together because there was another charity Strong Woman competition, ran the competition, and then ran the microphone there because that was from Kat Bartlett, and she was under 63 England's Strongest Woman at the time. So it's that networking that comes together that said, hey, do you want to do that? And absolutely. First time running it, I was a little nervous, but then I just thought, no, I'm doing this for a friend, step up to the challenge, and I've done it 2 more times since. So it's just having that confidence who said, okay, got that first one out of the way. Let's just do it and have more fun.
So is Will Baggett as fun in real life as he is on TV?
Oh, hell yes. Yeah, no, he's great. And that's where he
He's one
even
of our
said it.
favorites.
Yeah, no, he's great. We went to this Strongwoman competition, or I'm sorry, so it was a strongman competition in Finland, and he had, it seemed like almost like a stag do or like a bachelor kind of party, that he had all of his friends there, and he said, dude, keep your attitude up. He said, because my friends love it and they'll keep cheering you on. So I just was just crazy in Finland, did the same thing, did a few barrel rolls, and yeah, you just have to get, I think it goes back to that WWF atmosphere again, that you got to have fun and get the crowd to kind of like you and cheer hard and just to have fun. So no, Will is great. And I think that's where helping at that competition, that somebody else that likes to have fun and totally not stuck up on themselves, that makes that atmosphere just grow and be electrifying.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's one of the most fun guys to watch on TV for sure. He's a
Yeah,
hoot, man.
no, you're absolutely, he's just great. And then I think he's a dad of 3 kids, and so I think you have to, as a dad and having those kids around, that you have to just have fun all the time.
That's awesome. So we actually did get a fan question from somebody local here in Oregon. They
Okay.
wanted to know specifically, how did your discus translate into strong woman sports? How did throwing translate into strong sports strength?
Absolutely. It's that background of Olympic lifting. If you have any of that, oh man, I think just like, we kind of call it the pathways. My friends and I would joke about that. Um, that it just comes to life, or it's just any kid that was growing up pushing lawnmowers. I think it's that static strength that just comes into it, that if you've done some yard work, oh man, just absolutely. Even with some of the belt cleans at the time, like in 2014, Rob McGee and I, we were weightlifting in like a storage unit, and it's the same thing. It's having that, just the hip drive. It was Mike Conroy that was coaching the U.S. weightlifting team, and he's based out of Meridian, Idaho. And he said that it's just that base of the hip drive to move those weights. And if you feel comfortable with that, the world's your oyster in the strength sports atmosphere, I think.
Okay, that's a good tip.
Yep.
So what motivates you to compete in strength sports, or to compete in general?
God, to compete in general, I think it just makes you feel alive. I'm really grateful for my kind of Austrian German kind of crew at the moment, Patsy Luxner and Circo Peterman, that they put some little competitions online. Hey, do this, do that. So when I'm in my little shed, it kind of gives me that motivation to, go and do that. I really wanted to compete in the USA arm lifting championships last year, but the coronavirus, that was null and void. You're gonna laugh. I was on maternity leave last year. And
Okay.
so I was driving up to London once a week to meet with my coach, Rob Blair, at the Commando Temple. And I brought my little guy with me. Didn't matter, especially the first few months, had to do a little bit of breastfeeding, and then, let him kind of settle down, did our workout, and kind of the end of it, have another session at just feed my son and get back to it. I think it's just making sure that you just have these life experiences. And I also think if you're not competing or training, then you get little injuries no matter what. So I just feel like you're going to go to the grave with injuries or niggles, that you might as well have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So I just think that's what keeps me going, really, is that. And especially some of the traveling, like one of my favorite competitions ever was at Bonehill. That's a grip competition in Finland. So I think it's just the travel, the aspect, plus kind of the post-competition, either just have a few beverages, dinner with people, and just talk about training. That's pretty fun, just interfacing with other people. And I hope that happens again, post coronavirus pandemic, that just to hang out with people again. So it's just it's good to have that competition, and yeah, just keep your body moving. And I think, movement is medicine, essentially.
Oh, I agree 100%. That's why we tell everybody to keep moving at the end of our posts. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a contest coming up in July, so we're pretty stoked to get people excited about something right after the corona, because things are starting to even out here in Washington. We're starting to move into our next phase, so it's looking pretty good.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. I just spoke to somebody on the phone just within Idaho, and it sounds like, I think it just goes back to population density. If there's, not a lot of people, you can go for it. And Finland seemed to be doing okay. And then now Scandinavia is shutting again. So it's that second or third wave.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that point you made. I would rather definitely be an old person that was injured and capable rather than an old person that was injured and incapable.
Yes. And the other thing is, I've had tendonitis issues since probably starting 13, and that was basketball. That was doing ladders or suicides, going back and forth. So I had Achilles tendonitis problems. I remember getting my first cortisone injection when I was 13 in my heel. And I think it's understanding how to control your symptoms. So it was taking those anti-inflammatories before the basketball practice. Then also I kind of had another little, I think it was post-tib tendonitis. So it was, then getting arch supports for your basketball shoes, volleyball shoes. Yeah, I've just had my fair share of just little tendonitis issues. It sucks. And I've gone through either acupuncture, also a little bit of Reiki healing. It's, alternate, seems like a little voodoo, but it works.
Get the blood flowing.
Yeah. So, you just have to be open towards any alternative therapy that works for you. But no, I even dealt with it the other day, just my left elbow, and I ended up doing just some kind of like kettlebell twists, and it felt fine. So I think it just goes back to having an appropriate warm up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I agree 100%. Yeah, I have a thoracic spine arthritis, and when I started lifting a year ago, I got up to like 255 on squat, and then had to take a week and a half off, and that's pounds, not kilos.
Right.
And I had to take a week off after that, and sort of trying to feel my body and get like in a good position and find things right and sort of build up everything around it. And then now I go back into squat and I can do 340 and it's not too much of a problem. So it's
good. Yeah.
It's just paying attention to your body. That's a huge thing. Working around it. Absolutely. 100%.
And I think if people, and I think if people realize that, that everybody has their setbacks, and if you don't give up, I think that's when you're ultimately the winner, just as yourself, that you're saying, okay, what can we do to build around it and, and get through it.
Yeah. We're not all Magnus Magnuson. His whole have no weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are human, for sure.
Greatest advice ever. Just go out there and be good at everything.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So what do you consider your best athletic achievement?
So as we talked about earlier, so 2015 International All-Around Weightlifting Championships, I love those days because it's over 2 days and 7 events. It's almost like doing, how do I say it? Just almost like a Strongwoman competition, but it's a little bit more static with the different events. It's kind of you have when you're going to go for flights, and then you have a little bit of rest time. But it's just nice to have 7 different events of those disciplines and lifts. And on the background of that, I actually lost like 15 kilos from that time period. I wanted to. Just somehow I kept on getting recurring kidney infections for like the last 4 years. I don't know what it was. So I worked with a nutritionist, and he said, well, I need you to lose a little bit of weight. And again, the motivating factor, I thought, well, what if I focus on losing a little bit of weight? And I thought, why don't I compete at 95 kilos in the weight category? So I lose a little bit of weight and keep my nutrition in check and hopefully not have these recurring kidney infections. So again, that little motivation to have a competition to make sure I did that. So it was really good, and knock on wood, I have not had any kidney infection since. It's just controlling your symptoms again. It's not eating like a garbage can, so to speak. It's keeping your sugar levels in check, making sure it's like having the kefirs, those high probiotic foods in your diet. So, and then water. It's just one of those things that yeah, you just have to keep track that your body's telling you something. If something keeps happening and it's not great, that you just have to keep it in check. But anyway, sorry, I digress. So that competition, just those 7 events, and I have a YouTube video. One of them was a straddle deadlift, because that weekend I needed to make sure that I weighed at 95 kilos. I think I had like some fish, salad, grapes the night before, had a little bit of a breakfast, and I did get the lift, the straddle deadlift, and it was 165 kilos. I was really happy that it was nearly 1 3/4 times my own body weight, but I pass out in the middle of the lift and my head hits the back, my head hits one of the weights. And at first, one of England's Strongwoman, Chloe Brennan, says to me, she was like, Jen, we all thought you were like doing a shimmy, like kind of doing this post like congratulatory lift. And no, I passed out and I had no idea. And then just somebody asked, they were like, are you pregnant? And I said, no, I'm not. Just, I think I was just really fasting so much to make sure to make that 95 kilo weight limit for the weekend. But just goes to show you sometimes that, you know, I can be a little bit hardcore when I have a goal in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty hardcore right there.
Yeah, so I definitely that. And again, the Arnold Strongwoman, I had no idea that was ever going to happen. If somebody asked me, you know, in high school, oh, what's your biggest, thing, I guess, athletic competition, I just would have probably told you NCAA track, but to just say Strongwoman just seemed really foreign. And no, I'm really glad I had a 500-pound yoke on my back and completed that. So going to the Arnold's, that was great. And then also seeing Arnold himself in person and probably 10 feet away from me, it just, why not? You're starstruck a little bit. And then I would say last year, going to the Arnold's for the anvil lift, that was pretty cool. Just, yeah, my husband laughed and he said, oh, I liked this Arnold's a little bit better because there was less people around.
Yeah.
But no, it just almost felt like a country fair, almost like a high school basketball game. Just there was still a little bit of a crowd, but not as much that there would have been at a typical Arnold's.
Yeah, I heard some cool stories about this past Arnold in that regard. A couple people just were able to show up and, do their thing. That's pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. So that, and then also my little guy, Owen, was with me. I had at the time, or he was 9 months at the time, and just my son is a great traveler. Just who would have thought? And it's great. I also went to Finland as well with them. So, I think if you show your kids that, yeah, there's traveling, and if you're willing to be cool with it and make sure that they take a little bit of, either ibuprofen before a plane ride, they're fine. So kids can travel.
That must have been awesome being around Arnold, man. I think that guy's going to go down. I think he's going to be remembered even longer than Saxon and the guys from the years past, honestly, for what he's done for weightlifting. It's amazing.
Yeah, you can say that again. And you even think of an inclusive culture, the Special Olympics, if you've read his autobiography. And that's what you want from people. That's what people want, is inclusive and not be on this ivory tower that you can't touch me, or a certain, I guess, population can only speak to you. No, he just loves to get his hands dirty and make a difference and have a legacy, and just to get people to move, kind of what you're doing in a way. So you're an ambassador to fitness in itself for the masses, if you want to call it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. We felt that a lot of the grip competitions require you to be at least a few years trained into grip and pretty monstrous to even like step up to them. And we decided to introduce it to where the OCR people can get involved, other people can get involved and build their grip up. And we've already had a gal set a world record here. So, I mean, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And I'm just glad that within the last few years of women to get, I guess, more pronounced to get involved in sports, definitely from, what, 70s from Title IX to now, or you had, what was it? Pat, I can't forget her last name, the one that was the Tennessee vault coach. I think she was amazing. And then there was like that 1990s Cinderella season. That was really powerful to me. Just that whole documentary of how much that she loved to coach. And it showed the caliber of athletes underneath her. It's either you want to be there, you're going to listen to Pat, or it's just take the high road. Leave. If you don't like her attitude, then go for it. Because she wanted to be there and coach champions.
Yeah, we have a lot of inspiration about our women's football team here. They've done really, really well.
Fantastic. And remind me, what university is that?
It's just our women's soccer. It's the U.S. women's soccer team. They've done extremely
yeah, sorry. I thought you meant like a specific university. Sorry. So, okay.
So you mentioned your collapse with the weight. Would you consider that your greatest blunder or injury, or what is your greatest blunder or injury?
Jeez. I'd say even my shoulder dislocation from 2000. It was 2003, and again, it's coach involvement sometimes. If somebody would have said to me and looked at my form, like, hey, did you have a bad night studying? You don't look on form today. I just wish somebody just would have said, hey, just knock the weights down a little bit and just do just some high pulls, just as a complimentary to your workouts, and call it good, because just I'm lucky I didn't tear anything. And as the physical therapist said, and unfortunately, this wasn't even at my university at the time, I had to go see a local physical therapist. And she said, because your flexibility in your arm from discus throwing, she said, it's the reason why I didn't tear.
Yeah.
So, and from that, I had to redshirt one of my years. And God, that was 3 cortisone shots. And then just kind of getting it back up to par. And at the time when the silicone bands, that still hadn't come onto the market yet, you had one of those like bouncy bows. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. That was being utilized. And then even a lot of manual like balance.
Those bouncy bows were pretty crazy too, I mean, now that we look back at those, we realize it's actually just shocking your body the whole time you're using it, and it's not really really anything greatly productive.
So and then that was acupuncture at the time. And then this one guy that he specialized in even some herbology, it was some nasty, it almost looked like earth mud kind of mixture. And I was taking it to maybe unblock the bad chi in my body. It's just, you don't know at the time. And as an athlete, then you kind of suffer this like little mental breakdown that you think, God, am I ever going to get through this again? Because, shoulders are almost like the knee or hip, that it's one of those that it takes a long time to recover from.
Absolutely.
So
my brother's still dealing with the shoulder issue from high school.
Really? So just stuff like that. I think it's just a lot of patience and persevering, and just weight room time, and then it's ice bath time. So it's reap what you sow. And I also think at the time I wish to probably done yoga as well, because I think that would have helped. One thing that I would say within the last like 5 to 6 years of my training, and especially when I was doing Strongwoman at the time, that yoga was so complimentary. So I think it's having that balance of reap what you sow, or even having like a martial arts Tai Chi kind of background. And even Hafthor Bjornsson, he does the same thing of, he swears by yoga. So even some of the strong men are saying, yeah, or back in the day, Arnold Schwarzenegger and ballet for bodybuilding. It's all those, you take the rough with the smooth sometimes.
Absolutely, you got to soften yourself. Jerry Rice, the best running back of all time, or best receiver of all time, he also did a lot of ballet work. Yeah, so my brother's injury was from banging out weights in the weight room in high school that were way heavier than he should have been lifting. And nobody around to obviously tell him that you can't do that, because, teens in high school will just bang out weights, and then the instructor and the gym instructor will sit in the corner and, go over his football plays for the next game or whatever. So tell me about your coaching experience. Why did you change coaches in the past? What do you think makes a good coach and not a good coach? And how have you evolved your understanding of what it takes to build up a strong athlete?
Wow, that's a baked potato loaded question, but we'll try to dissect that. My high school coaches throwing, so Jim Clark, and I still talk to him to this day. I respected him because we had like a nice weightlifting program going on. I think just he was real encompassing. We did some video analysis. I just being a people person in tone, I like structure. And of course, there's a little bit of military background. My dad was in the military, and just kind of brought up in that atmosphere that, yes, you need the structure. And just also tone. I think you need to definitely not just be a robot. You should do this, but there's a reason why, or you kind of see it. It's just with your training and how it's complementary to throwing. At one time, it was funny. We were actually just doing like power throws with like 5-pound or 10-pound plates. And you're like, oh, I can see the transfer, just because how it would attack the grip a little bit, something different. And then I think it was almost a way if that you mess with the heavier weight, and then when you pick up the lighter weight, it's just going to fly. So I think that was complementary. When you see the illustration in your training, you're like, okay, I can see how that works. And then Frank Rome at Capitol High School, we did a lot of technical stuff, and that's where my immediate high school coach, Jim Clark, he said, Jen, absolutely go see other coaches out there, because sometimes the verbiage just clicks differently. So he was open-minded and not egotistical to say it's my way or the highway, but on the same token to say, go explore, because he knew I had the potential of him being a good thrower. And when I finished high school, graduated, I was top 20 in the nation in 2002 at throwing. So I had the potential there. And just, with my thing at Portland State, it would have been great. I still talk to this coach now, Cherie Hicks. I wish things could have worked out differently, but she wanted to go back to her alma mater in Syracuse, New York. So you have to respect other people's decision in life, that they wanted to be back there, and that's fine. And this other coach, you had to kind of, you couldn't just say, oh, I want this other coach, the one that I signed with. You couldn't do anything because your paperwork, you were committed to that first year. And you just had to be patient with that person. However, in the end, it didn't work out. There was some ridiculing. And again, with that shoulder injury, in a way that was proof in the pudding that it probably wasn't a good fit on from that. So you have to cut your losses and say, okay, move on. And so at Boise State, that, I'll say it's difficult when you're a student athlete, and I was a history major at the time. It's not like I was PE or communications, that you had a lot of reading. There was times I wish I would have had a picture taken. I had one of my history books and in the cold ice bath, because I just thought I don't have time to just not stare at the wall for 10 minutes. I have, I have to study.
Yeah.
So that's just difficult being a student athlete. And it was the 6 o'clock in the morning. And apparently if you were late, you had to do just burpees for 10 to 15 minutes. So then it was making sure to get on time. And I think sometimes having that punishment of if you were 5 minutes late, 2 minutes late, the world's still going to go on. So from that punishment aspect, I don't think that really works either. It's bad enough that time crunch as a student athlete. I remember just my minutes being zeroed in of either papers, schoolwork, and plus doing my teaching component to my degree, that just no minute was spared, that it was lesson plans. So, all these university movies of people just, going and having parties all the time, that was nothing compared to my lifestyle. However, I'm glad to have a university athletics part of that, because I think it kept me grounded, that you knew where that came from. So from Strongwoman and powerlifting and my grip coach, Rob Blair, I just had a really good relationship. I think each three of those, there's a philosophy behind there, or maybe as an athlete and myself growing up, that you understand how everybody's story is different. So my powerlifting coach, military veteran, and then he was a veteran powerlifter. So it proved to me that it's like, okay, he's been there, he's done that you kind of respect your coach a little bit more, to say that they know what it takes to become a powerlifting champion or records. My strongman coach, CJ Swaby, from London, he was doing some strongman competition. So again, somebody that was actively kind of in that world. And because of his training, and I had something really consistent, every competition I just stepped up into was a personal best. So then it reflected on him. And then I think where the mindset was, at one time in our rental house, I was walking back and forth with a sandbag in our own house because it was a little bit colder in England. The humidity gets to me, and it's just, shut up or throw up, that you kind of just need to get some of the work done. And I did that and listened to it for a tea. But just with the kidney stuff, I was like, I need to get myself better before I, get back into it. And then with Rob Blair, we just have this hilarious, just kind of a relationship of just movie quotes, whether it's Arnie movies, the banter level is pretty good. And just the teasing aspect. Again, a philosophy, somebody that's been there, he has like the meat hook world record within grip, the David Horn.
That's a brutal lift.
Yeah, very brutal lift. So, somebody else that I think it's lift.
That's horrible.
Yeah. No, I think it's just having those people that have already proven that they know what they're doing. So if you have that in your background, that's where I think you just you listen to those people and just the banter. You have to have that tone, and I think there's a time and a place for a coach to just say, you need to quit your whining, or you just do what you need to do and come back up. Rob's seen me at kind of my worst sometimes, and one time we just had a session of me bending a nail, because I think mentally we get exhausted or we ask too much of our bodies, and just, damn it, bend a nail and you feel better. And I even did that one day. I was frustrated from work, went out to my little she shed, put on some 80s rock, and I just bent a little bit of steel. And that's where you just think, all right, I've had my 6-7 minutes of just like all this effort into bending steel, and I feel a lot better. And you don't want to harm anybody.
What are you bending right now?
What's that? Sorry?
What are you bending? 60 penny nails or?
Um, it it was just batched steel,
Okay.
and I think my best ever I did was 119, and I have this horrible, and I've kept it. It's almost like your disappointed trophy of 121 kilos, and it almost just like it looks like a boomerang. So I've
Uh-huh.
kept it as a reminder that one of these days I need to surpass that. So watch this space, but the disappointment trophy to say that one of these days you need to do better. And it's
That's
good to
awesome.
have goals to aim for.
Yeah, I just got into bending a few months back, and I don't even know like the ratings of bars I've done, but I've just done some quarter-inch stock and 5/16 stock, and just bent that and had fun with it. And it's a pretty neat little thing to get into.
You can say that again. It's funny, just it seems a little overwhelming at first, but once you get through it, then you're like, okay. And I know that's where even my husband said, because he does lawnmower racing and he can kind of do some
That's
fabrication. He
cool.
just said, he just said, I'll cut some steel. And then whenever you want to do David Horn's competitions, then have him cut one specifically. So you're not, paying out every single time. So it's just him making sure that you see what you're doing and then having a batch number. And I like that control, like with the David Horn. It's nice how everybody, it makes it fair, because you know how there's that
Yeah.
some person that wants to get on top of somebody else. And I really like how David's systematic approach, that here's the batch number and it's sent across all over the world to make sure it's fair. And that's what's nice about having some of these remote competitions.
Absolutely. I think a company up in Canada just started Ben Sport Canada just started a cert for women. So I thought that was
Okay,
pretty cool too. Yeah. Just
nice.
fantastic stuff. So it's growing for sure.
Yeah, it is. It totally is. Well, it's been said that I feel like, that Jen, you were one of the pioneers for Strongwoman. And I just think, I don't know if I was that. I was just that person that just wanted to have fun. And if I got more people doing it, great, but yeah, if I'm going to be called a pioneer, great. But yeah, I don't want to toot my own horn that much. But if it's got more people interested and excited, then absolutely. That's what we're here for. We want enthusiasm and excitement in people.
Yeah, we all want to be an inspiration. I don't know if we all want the responsibility of being a pioneer, but I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely right.
So what's your big current major athletic goal?
Um, so King Kong is in the next October.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go with that. And I heard, unfortunately, Bone Hill is canceled, the competition in Finland. So that's a little sad, because then again, that's almost like another competition of 4 to 5 grip events. So that can always be fun. And a random one, I'm walking on a fire. I'm doing a fire walk the
Oh, that's fun.
16th of May to raise money for prostate cancer. It's
Just
Prostate
keep
UK.
walking, you'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to it. And
keep
then,
walking.
yeah.
It's not much of it's all mental. It's all a mental challenge. That's all it
Well,
is.
well, that's just it. And I thought, well, if I had my own son, with childbirth, and I didn't even scream or yell, I just did like 6 deep yoga breaths, and
Yeah.
Owen came out just fine. Absolutely. Then I'd be the first one to go first. But
Yeah, I feel like it's similar to doing a polar plunge. You gotta be pumped up and ready for it, then you just gotta do it. Yep.
absolutely. Yeah.
So you mentioned chi and martial arts. How do you define chi? What is it to you?
Well, I have had a little bit of background in martial arts. I did Taekwondo, and that was from like the 4th grade to about the 7th grade. And then that's where I kind of had my flow of I need to do, I thought I need to focus on track and field, because I just knew somehow I was going to get a scholarship. I thought I might, I knew I was going to excel at that. So Chi, I think it's all
Taekwondo is
around
pretty hard
us.
on
It's
the knees.
within you. And I think it's just taking those deep breaths, and it's really focusing. And some of my best lifts it's just like, it's just the rhythmic breathing. It's kind of invoking the spirit, anything around you, of just this, just, that's always been something, that sound that's in the back of my head of, no, it's muscle memory, it's visualization. That that European record for the Napalm's Nightmare, I visualized some numbers in my head the night before, and I just knew somewhere in every fiber of my being it was going to be like 130 kilos, and then ended up being 131.5. So, and going back to that visualization, I remember in high school just writing some of like my throwing goals down on this whiteboard on the kitchen refrigerator, and just then it's like, okay, if I've surpassed that. And I remember my biggest gains, I think it was like I was a sophomore in high school, and I think I erased that whiteboard like 3 or 4 times. So it was really nice that I kind of had the one of the better years. And then, you know, I think as a junior I was a little frustrated of with college being up in the air, like, you know, what are you going to do with your life? And then senior year had that, but just think it's everywhere. Just that it's just believing in yourself, and it's finding that center, and it's just having more oxygen to your body, and just being ready and accepting that whatever feat of strength that you're ready for it, that, and try to make it light, but don't expect it to be too light, and just be ready for it to make sure that you don't snap anything. So I think it's just the breath.
Yep, I agree 100%. There's a lot of typically there's a lot of mysticism surrounding what chi is, and having
Yeah.
been in martial arts all my life, I can tell you it's not a mystical thing. It is simply a form of breath control, as you mentioned. It's using intentful breathing and awareness of what that's doing to a high level, to where you're actually noticing the subtleties involved with your breathing, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really all it is.
Yeah.
It's getting as much power as you can out of properly using your breath, which of course we use in weightlifting all the time. We breathe down to our belly and brace and use our breath to, you know, express as much power as possible. In a way, chi is the same thing. You're loading your body, you're using your breath control, and then you're expressing your power in a martial strike as opposed to in a lift. But it's virtually the same thing.
Absolutely.
So I
Yes.
think it's good to get that out there. So what are some lifestyle habits you subscribe to that help the average person getting fit at home?
I definitely say drink water. I just, you know, people always dismiss it, and it's just like, no, muscle contraction needs water. You need to hydrate. Um, just, God, you can't discount that. You need to be drinking water.
It's
I
such a
think
good
it's,
point. Like all the bending videos we see online, it's the best benders always drinking some kind of Gatorade or something right before they go for their bend. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely right. I, you know, and especially now we're getting into springtime.
Mhm.
Go and take a walk. Just go enjoy nature a little bit. Just warm up. Like it just, if you, for people that struggle to try to get outdoors, that it's like, put another layer on. If you're worried about the cold, or wear tights. That's the other thing. You know, even at my job, I'm in a cold warehouse, and I dress for that because I just think my body is one of my best assets to keep warm. And yeah, I just don't want to pull a muscle, ligament, tendon. That now just keep warm.
Weather's about the
Putting the,
same there as it is here, right? About the same as Portland.
I, give or take, but you know, even in Portland, I Portland, I layered a little bit, but in England, I have to layer. Like, I never wore Carhartts in my life until I moved to England. It's just that humidity that it gets to your bones a little bit. And I'm lucky I'm on the southeast coast where, you know, versus inland in the UK, it's the humidity. It's even worse. But at least I kind of have the sea breeze. That it's, yeah, it doesn't feel like it robs your bones as much. But no.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Portland's right on the Columbia, so yeah, I guess you had that situation here.
Yeah, I just don't remember being that, yeah, just, I remember layering a little bit, but not as much. And we used to practice on top of the athletic building, Portland State, because they kind of had this, that walking track.
Hmm.
We used to throw like in the upstairs of the tennis courts. And yeah, I don't remember, it was just like, okay, long sleeve shirt, sweatshirt, and that was about it. Fine. And you kind of strip off in layers. No, I'd also just say, just for anybody to keep their fitness level. In high school, we kind of had the lifetime sports kind of class, and it was like the walking, the bowling. I, but I think walking is the best thing to just go out there and, you know, you'll do it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think
And
those sports are extremely important.
yeah, and I think anybody that wants to do either grip, weight training, is to start low. I even had some of the cross country runners in high school lift with me because I wouldn't ridicule them, because it's like, okay, that's where you're going to start. You know, you and I are in two different two different builds, two different events. So it's like, if you have to start at 5 pounds, you got to start at 5 pounds, because I want them to lift safely and not erratic.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I think it's, again, celebrating people, their own success, and not always comparing yours. So they just need to start small. And of course, some of the lifting culture, just, you got to start big and that's it. And that's not right either. And that discourages a lot of people. And even growing up, I know some people would say, well, my mom wouldn't want to go to the gym when there's somebody like you in the corner that's just doing weights. And I said, well, I'm doing my own thing. I don't care what they're doing. It's not like I'm going to ridicule. To me, when somebody steps in a gym, they're doing themselves a world of good. And
Absolutely.
I'm not going to ridicule them. It's like they need to start wherever they're progressing. I've just taken years, it's, what do you need to do is say, I've been in the gym for 20 plus years. Do I need to put that sign on my back versus, somebody saying, well, this is my first day. So we all have our paths, right?
I agree 100%. And I mean, growing up watching people train online, there's that whole mentality. Once I can bench 300 pounds, I'll put a video online. And once I can, squat 500 pounds, I'll show people what I can do. And then all you see is people lifting enormous weights. And then you get demotivated from that. Like when I first got into grip, nobody showed off closing a gripper below a number 3. Yet to close a number 3 is ridiculous. You have to
Yeah.
have super strong hands to do that. It takes years, for most people, years to get there. So I think it's good to hear that and to see people encouraging people that are starting out. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So what weird or alternative training methods have you come upon that aren't conventional that have helped you significantly in your performance?
As I've touched on the yoga, that's helped immensely. And I think it's just unraveling some of the knots. For example, I still on my back garden, and my mom probably still hates it that I have like a 300-kilo tractor tire.
Awesome.
That's 660 pounds. I have 175. That's a light one. But it's stuff like that not a lot of people are doing. But then, as you've seen on CrossFit now, that flipper,
Yeah.
CrossFit's kind of robbed some principles from Strongman. But it's stuff like that. You have to unravel your body, or some of the jarring from like doing a car deadlift. It's that mentality. It's nice, since I'm a 2-minute walk from the channel, that some of my strength buddies, it was like, oh, let's go jump in after. And I'm like, sure, why not? Because of university always having the ice baths, that it's like, why not? We'll go have a swim. And one of my friends, Nick Swain, who I met through International All-Around Weightlifting, that I think it was like either Christmas Eve, something like that, we went in his little shed, lifted, just got our wetsuits on, and we were the only crazy people out on the beach, like just enjoying it. And plus it was raining anyway, you were going to get wet, so who cares? So I think, why not? And I think this was, God, almost 20 years ago now, that Men's Health even said that jumping into a pool after a weight session decreases soreness up to like 400%.
Yeah.
400%. I mean, that seems really like a huge number. And of course, the statistic people like my husband are like, how can you get more than 100%? And I'm like, I don't know. They're the university researchers, and I'm just the meathead that just spewed this because it was actually interesting. So yeah, I can't say enough about just sometimes just jumping in, a cold body of water, that it just helps clarity. And then I think from the book, Tools of Titans, and even some of the some of the Finnish grip athletes, they do the same thing, jump in the lake or jump in their own cold pools.
Oh, yeah.
It's just something that helps. It reverses
The
Krebs cycle.
Stoltman's in there all the time.
What's that? Sorry?
I see the Stoltman's in there all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Always
Yeah.
in frozen water. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
We do,
no.
So you're familiar with Northwest. We do Lake Merwin up here. So the glacier water.
Okay, yeah.
That. Oh, it's horrible.
And purity, come on now. It's all the purity. It's all the deer piss, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you could start your training over again with what you know now, what would you do different?
That's a great question. That's a fantastic question. I would implement some of the axle bar stuff, like the 2-inch deadlifting, some of that, and again, grip. Holy cow, just even the 2-inch dumbbells, fat grips. But that's all that stuff has come out within like the last, well, especially fat grips, the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So that would have been different. God, that would have helped transferred some of my discus. It goes back to the gripping of it. God, even some of the tire flips, that stuff, I think that's fun. Some of the sledgehammer stuff, either taking a sledgehammer to a tire, or this is kind of like my little token from Rob, is just some of the leverage.
Yes.
Just that has helped tendon strength so much.
We have a park called Lever Ridge Park. We actually plan on doing a lever party at Lever Ridge Park this year. So really
nice.
big levering. Yeah. Levering's huge.
Yeah. Some of the mace bell stuff. It's just the uneven conventional. That's really
what I've been making my brother do is mace stuff for his shoulder. Yeah, it's huge.
It's just great. It's just because I think, again, it goes back to the grip. It's just something different that it just helps. The uneven, what is it? Rick Brown came to the Commando Temple, and they called it like the redneck press, where I think it was the mace behind you. It's just some of the stuff like that.
Yeah, we've been communicating with Rick a little bit, the mace man. He plans on doing a visit here in the future once he can start traveling again. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. No, great. You'll love him. Just great guy and enthusiastic. Again, somebody else that just wants to spread the word.
Yeah, we're big into the grip thing. I feel that grip makes a huge difference for women in self-defense too. I mean, I'm sure you understand, because being a martial artist, how much of a difference it can make in your self-defense. And you can grab and hold on to a weapon harder. You can tear at somebody to get away easier. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of benefits from having a very strong grip.
Absolutely.
100%. So what's the most important piece of equipment you have in your she shed, and why?
That's a great question. And my little arsenal of, I quite honestly just say having a squat rack, because then it's hanging those rubber bands to either with like pull-up stuff, or having the bands up high, and then even just doing some lower ab work. I think it's just having just somewhere just kind of to facet those rubber bands that you can do something else. It's almost like having a poor man's like cable system, so to speak. So I think just having that, really. And the other thing is, I think sometimes if you just don't have weights, it's like just go and pick up rocks. Again, it just seems a little like Flintstones-ish, but Now, I got some rocks. Some guy was, taking some of his garden up, and he had some massive ones, and you just think, don't let those go to waste.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We have a ton of rocks on our property that we decided to put into a big garden and start rock lifting.
Not, yeah, I did see that, all the
That's fun.
different names.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody that carries 180 feet gets it named after them here. So
Awesome.
it is
I like
it is a
that.
tough challenge though. We still have a few rocks out there that are too big for us to even lift. We call them our. We have a few paperweight equipment items around here. We have a 300-pound Atlas stone that's currently a paperweight, and I'm getting a blob, a Fat Man blob that'll be a paperweight for a while. An inch dumbbell that'll be a paperweight for a little while. But
Right.
we'll work at them. You know,
Good.
it's fun to have that equipment sitting there that's just egging you on.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
before I let you go, do you have any advice for any other thing to say for people that are trying to get fit at home? Any advice for anyone?
Keep consistent. I, just take that walk. Sometimes if it's the weather issue, try to plan your workout of if it's gonna rain in the afternoon, then do it in the morning. Or sometimes I think it's just great to get that workout done in the morning. So then I think as you grow older, then it's like people want to, oh, let's go out, have a beer. So I think there's that sabotage
Mm-hmm.
that, or unless you're going to be really proactive to say, no, it's my weights night tonight, can we have that like other drink, or if you want to go out, do it another time. I think you just have to own it. Find some positive people to be around. So, if your current gym partner's kind of negative, that it's, life can be, sometimes it can be negative. And if you have somebody that is negative around your hobby, that you just think that's just going to sabotage you again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just think, yeah, drink a lot of water, be consistent, goal setting, have a goal and reevaluate. Something to be realistic. And, is this, I think, make it an importance of where do you want to be in a few months, 6 months? Do you want to master pull-ups, or do you want to have that taco sometimes? I think you have to really be analytical of what you want in your goals sometimes. That
Maybe just hang a taco above the pull-up bar, pull up and get it right every time,
yeah, that's true. Now, because my struggle, and this is crazy, I never thought I would say this. I've lost up to 35 pounds twice in my life. And, one was health reasons, and the second one was because becoming a mom and how just breastfeeding, that naturally just, I lost a little bit of weight, and it was nice to feel somewhat close to what I was in high school, that weight again. And I thought I'd never see that. So I think it's just good to be addicted to being healthy, and just having some goals, or it's using MyFitnessPal if that keeps you on track with some of your diet. And yeah, keep eating fruits. God, that'll help you. Apples. Just, yeah, no, I think you just have to really find the importance. And I think finding grip, it's finding a hobby that keeps you motivated, and finding good friends. It's funny that when I was kind of back home in Idaho after the Arnolds, and then the pandemic happened, it was nice to catch up with some friends. And we were throwers. That's the thing, that some women go and have coffee. My friends and I, it's either we weightlift or we go throw with our kids. So, and one of my other friends, Tammy McClure, that she was on Ninja Warrior. We were doing gripping in her garage, or her garage, sorry, and just that type of stuff. It's good to have other females that like to lift and just be active.
Yeah, that Spartan and Ninja Warrior stuff has really become popular up here in the
Mm-hmm.
Northwest. Yeah, absolutely. The muddy rudders and all that stuff. really popular here, and we got a lot of those guys into grip, which is pretty cool.
Definitely, and that's where Tammy said like there was a few other people that she mentioned. I was like, I've heard of them, but I haven't truly met them face to face yet. I've heard of their grip feats, and I was like, yeah, that's respectable, but I just hadn't met him. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a Ninja Warrior climber come over here. He's like a speed climber, and he hubbed 45s, no problem, right and left hand, like it was easy peasy, you know. Steps into the axle, a few 100 pounds. It's like, oh, this is no problem. It was awesome to see, you know, and he's like a 160-pound climber, you know, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
So his wrist work wasn't as strong, but, you know, if he gets that, he could dominate grip like crazy. So that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you mentioned flexibility. I like that. That was a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge thing I think people need to work on as well, in addition to everything you said. Because I've seen a couple guys that have done martial arts that are real flexible, get in the gym, make a crazy mistake that you think would injure anyone, and just walk away from it because their body just, you know, can handle awkward pressures in weird positions because they're used to grappling or rolling on the floor or just doing things in strange positions, and they've kept themselves flexible. I think that's huge. Absolutely.
And mobility and geez, all the stuff now, and you're gonna laugh. Because how I was having that tennis elbow thing, the new twister.
I have those right over here somewhere.
Yeah, no, I really like it.
Love
Just for
those
even,
guys.
yeah, just for it was supposed to be a tennis elbow thing, and I'm like, oh God, that would have helped me. I think it's like the twister bar. I'll have to look up what it is.
Flex bars.
Yeah, the twist bars. But it's little things like that that I'm like, why didn't I think of that with my tennis elbow? And it's like, that would have been my $1 million idea and to help other people out. But just mobility and just using different things. And I think it's just varying your workout. And sometimes I think you have to let go of the systematic, like either 3x12s. And sometimes you just need to go out and play, you know, go and do push-ups off of logs or just go throw some stones around. I think you need to have a play day. And what I even got from Rob Blair is that go climb. Sometimes the grip numbers, you know, when you go down to 1/10 of a kilo or something, you can't plan for that. Just go and do a climbing wall, and it's amazing.
Yeah, agree 100%.
So just varying your routine.
Yeah, it's funny. Those flex bars are actually a derivative of ancient Tai Chi piece of equipment called a bomb.
Okay.
Yeah, it's used in a similar manner. It's like it's more rigid, and it's used for similar things of working your wrist, working your grip, and all that stuff, and working out tendonitis. It's pretty cool.
Awesome.
So we're gonna get you some potatoes here now.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So what lift are you excited about trying on the potato?
The pinch. Just why not go with the classic pinch? That's always a good one. And I just looked at your video before, and I'm like, oh yes, I'm ready to do that. You know, as you say, don't touch underneath. Just definitely on top. So yeah, or even almost do like a two-hander. You know, I think especially from our toast challenge that you just put up on Facebook, just it's good to try get both hands involved.
We have a battery hold that uses both potatoes, so it's like a front hold that's also required to do a pinch hold on it, so you can't touch the bottom when you do the battery hold. So that's a tough one because you're squeezing plus trying to hold the weight up. Yeah. So it's just this combination of pinch plus forward hold. It is brutal. The pinch is pretty fun because this side of the potato here is really flat, so it's completely flat for your thumb, but this side over here is like a blob. Yeah. See, that's more rounded. So that's makes the pinch pretty neat. It's definitely a puzzle of a handle. Yeah. You know, it's like a natural rock for your hand. So it's really fun. Nice.
Perfect.
So do you have any questions for us before I let you go, Couch Potato Strong?
I'm going to pull a Bill Kazmaier on you. What do you see you guys yourselves doing in the next 5 years with the brand?
I want to start to infuse martial arts and grip, specifically self-defense and grip. So like grip defense, if that's even a thing, because my whole life has always been focused on self-defense and not ring martial arts, not traditional martial arts, but literally training for what you're going to run into on the street. So we do a lot of grappling on concrete, which is really hard. we do a lot of drills that involve trying to get through a doorway with two, big burly dudes standing next to the door trying to stop you. A lot of grip training with like coated cloth, like cloth that's been coated in syrup or oil to
Oh,
simulate,
wow.
simulate dealing with a bloody situation and dealing with a bloody situation where someone might be wearing clothes. So it's a lot of getting in the mindset of I'm holding on to what's important to me, and that's why I grip. So
Mhm.
we definitely want to start to move it that way. Of course, we're going to be hosting more events. We got a couple events coming up this year. We're eventually going to transition to where we're not gaining as much knowledge from everybody out there, and we're sharing our own knowledge. I got a doctorate degree in performance psychology, so I'll be
Oh,
dropping a little
awesome.
more psychological information for everyone. Other than that, we're going to start selling our potatoes pretty soon, but we're not going to actually sell the potatoes. You'll get a set of potatoes if you buy a t-shirt. So the potatoes
Cool.
will always be a free thing. And so that will help us kind of get a little more focused on our training.
Hmm.
This year has been building up the brand, getting all the information we need, and talking to super athletes like yourself, and
Thank you.
just trying to get everybody excited, in the Northwest. But yeah, our big thing is to try to reinvigorate grip here in the Northwest. It used to be pretty big here, and they had like 20 years of Rolling Thunder contest, and all kinds of big guys. I mean, they used to have Jesse Miranda used to be from here, and I mean, we have a couple other legends in our area. So basically, we're just trying to build it up, get it going. Then once it's going, we're gonna slow it down and focus on our training and compete a little more.
Nice.
We're also looking at potentially going from this little garage to a 24 by 24 gym. So we're looking at building up our own gym pretty soon, stuff like that.
No, that sounds great, and it kind of reminds me of like what the Commando Temple has in London. There's a little bit of jujitsu, kind of like mat room. Then you
Yeah,
have just your weights, and you have a whole bunch of anvils and kettlebells, and no, sounds great. And I can't wait to see more of the vision. So no, that sounds
absolutely. Yeah.
great.
Everything that just builds up quality of life. That's what we're all about. Also, we'll start throwing out Tai Chi for the elderly pretty soon too, and explaining some of that.
Anything to keep moving. And I remember there was one gentleman in the Portland State Park blocks. I looked at him running and he wasn't like doing straight lines. I think it's kind of like in Western culture, the straight lines. And this guy was like doing figure of eights, like this snake. And I'm like, wow, he's probably getting his IT bands.
Yeah.
And it made me think of like just different patterns and different backgrounds. I sat there and I just watched him. I was like, that's a really good idea. Kind
Yeah,
of like,
it's amazing what's going to happen with fitness over the next like 50 years. I think as all the training secrets are starting to come out from different areas of around the world. Absolutely.
you can say that again. And me coming to the United Kingdom and with like international all around weightlifting and talking to other people, what they've seen or done. And especially strongman sometimes can almost seems like, physical magicianary kind of work that different tapes or different tackies. Um, one time, especially for like the log press, what I learned off the Ukrainians was using like a wetsuit type of a top just to kind of keep that
Hmm.
almost your chest set up to
Okay.
that sticking point for the log. So it kind of kept you more upright.
Yeah, I get that completely.
So it's little things
'Cause
like that.
I've
And
been still in that high position way up here, the
yeah,
double overhand position. So yeah, I'm always thinking of like the Tai Chi exercises that open you up. So I 100%, I get that completely.
yeah. So now the wetsuit shirt thing, I did like it and kind of gave you a little padding with the yoke, but it was a little disgusting after a strongwoman competition. I'm not gonna lie. So, but it was nice to at least kind of you felt like you're a little bit more upright because what you expect your body to do sometimes is a little out of control.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Do a strongman competition in a wetsuit.
It was just the
Never
top
heard
though. It
that
was just one
before.
of the t-shirts, not the full thing. Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
yeah,
That's a crazy statement to think about.
yeah, yeah. You can say that again.
Well, I appreciate you joining us.
No, thank you so much, and sorry about the technical glitches, but we got there in the end.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once you get this on YouTube, I'll throw it up on our channel. So it'll be perfect.
Okay. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you
Well,
so
you
much.
take care. Yeah. Have
All
a good
right.
day.
You too. All the best. Bye-bye.